Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is exactly 9:50 a.m. and as I indicated a little earlier on, this is our final interview on the show for this morning, and it is with one of my favorite people, a colleague here at Salam Media. She, of course, is sociologist, author, and a presenter of BookBytes on Salam Media. She's also the curator of the Time of the Writer Festival, and she is the lovely Shafinaaz Hassim to talk to us about quite a serious matter. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome.
Walaikum salam, Auntie Julie. Always wonderful to have a chance to chat to you.
Lovely, lovely. Great to be hooking up with you again. It's been too long since we've spoken last. But you're here to talk about something that when I read, when I read it too, I kind of said, ouch. Not good at all, but I admire you for the stance you've taken. And your little piece starts off by saying, with the rise of fascist tendencies around the globe, it is vital that in the arts sector, we continue to take a principled stand where and when there is a washing over of, instead of conscious efforts to undo discrimination. So talk to us about this matter and, of course, how you responded and the reply that you got or didn't get in response to the stance you've taken.
Jazakallah khair for the opportunity. Look, it was not a difficult decision. Once you have a position on social justice, it's easy to just follow through with that. But I say easy, not very lightly, in that, look, Auntie Julie, we're living in a world where we're seeing rising fascism in various different, a tendency towards fascism in different countries across the world. And despite our nostalgia and the value we give to our cultural ancestry, in my case, my family came from northern India. We were brought up with these close kind of, to honor the value of culture. And so I have that. I certainly have that. But let's also understand that nostalgia mustn't border on the line of overlooking when people are being discriminated against because of political allegiances or whatever, because we feel that reverberate on the ground in South Africa in our interactions. So we are seeing a rise of Islamophobia on the subcontinent. We're seeing a rise of Islamophobia towards, discrimination towards Muslims in India. And it's heartbreaking, but we're also seeing a rise of Hindutva nationalism. We're seeing an allegiance towards Israel, despite the fact that people around the world are saying, top organizations, including the United Nations, have recognized that there's an ongoing genocide from various perspectives in Gaza, in Palestine. And yet the Indian government aligns itself with Israel. So I think that kind of opportunism needs to be called out. And any attempt on the ground in South Africa to create this kind of feeling that we're getting along and let's do this, I cannot endorse that. I cannot sit in a crowd where they're not able to call out these injustices. And it's very simple for me to have made that decision. It was a no-brainer. I certainly hope, I'm not suggesting, I'm not judging, I'm not suggesting that all the authors should do that or whoever's invited. But I am calling to conscience, do the right thing.
So tell us about this particular event that we're talking about. What is it all about? When is it scheduled to happen? And then, of course, your response and the non-response from the Deputy High Commissioner of India in South Africa.
So I also know that when I represent a stage, I do so as a practitioner of the arts, as an author who's been in the industry almost 2 decades, but also on platforms like the Time of the Writer, where I was appointed a year ago to represent authors around the country. And I think art is very much about highlighting social justice. My art certainly is. So I was invited earlier last week via WhatsApp, which is, I suppose it's considered fine in these times. Simply an aide or an official from the Deputy High Commission of India saying, sending this WhatsApp invitation, which is simply a luncheon. I wasn't given a lot of information, a luncheon for cultural activists to the residents of the DHC, which is pretty straightforward. And I requested information, and I was said it's just a luncheon to get everyone together. A further source mentioned to me that they were going to put a kind of literary festival together, and I said, look, this was my position on the matter. Privately, I had said to her, this is my position, and I feel uncomfortable being in a space and endorsing something where there hasn't been an open effort to undo or to speak up to their government to say what's going on is wrong and people shouldn't be discriminated against. So the response was, fair enough. If you can't come, do you know anyone who would like to be there?
Oh my
And so it
word.
was tone deaf. It was a tone deaf response to say, well, okay, you don't have to be there, but I'm sure there's others who would want to be there. So, it's a tough space because I have a wide network. I can, send a list of 100 people through if I need to, but am I endorsing a program again where you're just whitewashing this kind of, it looks all very rosy on the outside. It does seem to have a good initiative. And I celebrate the celebration. I endorse the celebration of diaspora literature. But let's talk about the real issues before we get to what looks good and we're spending money on something that just kind of looks rosy on the outside but doesn't deal with the real matters. People are being discriminated against. People are losing their businesses. People are losing their lives in spaces like this. So,
So let me,
my response.
Shafina, mhm. Can I play devil's advocate here? What if did you consider accepting the invitation, attending the function, and then voicing your objections, or perhaps calling them out for supporting Israel and for the Islamic anti-Islam tendencies towards people in India? I mean, just very recently, I saw and read about a mosque being torched in India, and very innocent, ordinary working class people being harassed, being killed, being looted. It's just unbelievable and unimaginable that these things are playing out in this day and age in India. And of course, that's where I come from as well. I too come from the state of Gujarat. And when I hear and see all of these things, it destroys me. In fact, I've been putting word out in my community to say, because we know a lot of our people are very pro Bollywood. They support the Bollywood industry. They watch their movies. They go on holidays to India, etc. And I've been telling them, stop watching Bollywood movies because there's a lot of discrimination contained in those movies as well. Very overt and subtle messages through those movies. And I've said to people close to me as well, don't support India by visiting it, not till they don't change their stance on Muslims in India who are citizens, rightful citizens of India, but they just don't follow Hinduism, they follow Islam. And these are the atrocities being perpetrated on them.
I absolutely agree with you. I think the boycotting does help, not just with the media where there's propaganda, but with products coming out of India. I know of importers now who are deliberately sort of holding back on produce out of India because they want better results. And it's not subtle. The discrimination is not subtle, as you've said. It's in many cases life-threatening. So you have soft sort of the military on soft military on the ground in the form of policing, but you have these mobs, these informal bands of policing on the ground that are specifically meant to dehumanize and intimidate on the ground Muslim businessmen, Muslims wearing the hijab or in any way male and female hijab. And I think that that in itself is creating a huge dilemma for citizens of all types, because India has had a history of collaboration and cooperation. So I think for political expediency to be able to separate people and then create this kind of hatred is incredibly dangerous. And we need to speak out from our spaces. Attending an event as a singular person, rubbing shoulders with some of those sort of high-ranking officials, and leaving a message versus creating a sort of a refusal to be in those spaces and still sending a message. I think I do prefer my stance on the matter, and I hope that that the message has been portrayed, because remember, they're also seeing what's happening on the ground far more intimately than we are. They would be getting these images and these reports, and they're still not doing anything about it. So mine was a personal decision to refuse to partake in this event, and I stand by that.
Okay, I have to read a social media message out to you. I kind of don't know whether I should laugh or whether I should dismiss this person as being absolutely ridiculous. He doesn't know or understand his politics, but be that as it may, each one to his own. Jagadish 8444 has written, two useless aunties just bitching without logic about a great country. And of course, he's talking India. That's the first post. His second post says, Auntie, let's discuss the minority life in Pakistan and Bangladesh. Also, let's talk about the Pahalgam attack. Jagadish, let's also talk about what's happening in Kashmir. But be that as it may, your thoughts, Shafinaaz?
I don't mind being called auntie. I do fit the profile. Especially if you're dealing with somebody who is obviously of infantile mindset, I don't know their age, and who hides behind a username. But be as it may, interesting questions. I don't think that India is not a great country. I think that their foreign policy and their politics on the ground right now leave much to be desired and need to be assessed. They're not promoting social cohesion the way I see it, and that needs to be addressed. If it's, as they say, a democratic country, then critical engagement and expression should be quite acceptable to them. So I don't see those as problematic. Every great democratic country will accept critical engagement in whichever way to improve, towards social cohesion and social justice. So I don't have an issue with any of that. And as far as Pakistan goes, I think, deflection when you're talking about a situation is rather unfortunate. But just to address the issue of Pakistan, um, you know, uh, we need to talk about also how social justice matters on the ground are adhered or not adhered to in Pakistan. We can call for the release of Imran Khan. We can call for adherence to anti-corruption practices across the board in Pakistani politics. And we can talk about the necessity, I want to make this call, this necessity to allow Imran Khan fair and just a trial, and humane conditions, access to lawyers and medical help, and his family, all of that. So I'm certainly not endorsing one by attacking one. It's very unfortunate when it starts getting conflated in that way, just because it's this exactly this politics of division that's coming into play. So I hope I've addressed some of the matters there, and we certainly aren't saying other countries are better. I'm saying let's pinpoint on this specific matter, because yes, I was invited and I've declined the invitation on my very strong convictions.
On point, dearest Shafinaaz Hassim, and that's where we're going to have to leave it. I salute you for taking the stance that you have, and I do hope that we will get to see each other sometime soon. Allah be with you, inshallah. Until the next time, as always, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Auntie Julie. Jazakallah khairan.
Absolute pleasure. It is almost 10:05. That means we're wrapping up. Thank you indeed for your company, for your comments, for your contribution to the show. Both you, Jagadish 8444, and Abdul Razak Ismailov, and a whole host of other people. Thank you indeed for listening, for watching. And from me, Julie Ali, till tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock on the mid-morning talk show. I bid you well. Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz.